In this video, I'm going to talk about the first plot point. So I'm writing these essential scenes in every story. This is the basic formula I use when I'm mapping out my fiction. So the first plot point is the point of no return. The inciting incident is where they realize there's a bigger world out there, there's a larger scale conflict, but they don't want to be involved in it. The first plot point is when their ordinary world, they get completely separated or cut off from their ordinary world. So they're forced onto their adventure here at the first plot point. It's a point of no return. This may not be a choice. This could be the inciting incident. They refuse the journey or the quest, but then often they're forced onto the journey or quest. So maybe they refuse and then someone kills their entire village or their parents or whatever. So it motivates them. Like maybe they were still holding on to this ordinary world, and so they refuse the call to action. But then here something major happens. It's a turning point. Their ordinary world is destroyed or separated. Maybe they get kidnapped and forced onto a ship and sold into slavery, or someone destroys their town, or their goal of going to college is ruined because something happened, they didn't show up for their big test, so they failed the test, they can't get into college. Whatever plans they had set, whatever they were holding on to, those plans are crushed, so they're forced onto this journey. This isn't exactly a decision. Basically, they would have decided not to follow this adventure. They would have decided to stay with the ordinary world, but because of something major that's happening in the first plot point, it forces them to accept this journey. They basically have nothing left. They have nothing left to hold on to, at least right now. They may think, at least by accepting this journey or moving forward, this is the only path left open to them. So maybe they still hope by going through this journey and doing whatever usually there's somebody who's asking them. They've met a new character who's inviting them on this journey, but now they're forced. So it could be that they have an ally who's inviting them and an antagonist who forces them by doing something tragic to whatever they were holding on to. So then they only have one path open to them. They still kind of hope they'll get back here eventually, but for the meantime, this is the only way forward is to accept this quest. That's kind of what the first plot point is. It's a point of no return. They can't go back anymore. They can't just pretend that nothing else is happening. They can't pretend they haven't witnessed this crazy stuff. It might be a little bit of, like at the beginning, if you're writing a thriller or mystery, there might be a little bit of, they see things they can't explain, but they don't know what it means yet. And then here, the first plot point, they might be told a little bit more of the truth. So now they know that they're not crazy, that they are seeing something that's different or supernatural or whatever. And so they want to explore it to, at least to see as far as it goes. They're still not in a position of power. They won't be in a position of power until the midpoint, which is down here. But this is like 25% into the book. So you really want to, generally, I mean, I set this up, this is generally 25%, 50%, 75%, and we'll talk more about this as things go on. And this is how I plot out my fiction, so I know that if this major scene is going to happen 25% into the novel, then I know I have to write some scenes and some chapters that get to that point. It's okay if you shorten that time. Some people will potentially have the ordinary world, the inciting incident as chapter 2, and the first plot point as chapter 3 if you want things to move really quickly. Or even you could have all three of these in the first chapter if you just wanted to force things forward. That's possible. I like to spread things out. I like my stories to build slowly. So mine start slowly, and I do try to hold out so that this first plot point is at least like 15% or 25% into the story. Some other books, especially like something like urban fantasy, which has more action and goes faster, depending on the genre, you'll have a different length for different pieces of the story. Some books start off faster, so the time difference you can kind of play around with depending on the genre. But that's what the first plot point is. You get to this point where everything has changed and they can't go back to the beginning where they wanted to go back to. They're forced to go forward. It might be a quest. They might have a mission to go and do something, maybe to find something or to find someone. Or if, for example, someone did rob them or burn down their house or steal their money or kill their parents. They might be forced on a journey of vengeance or discovery to figure out what really happened with that problem. So it might be just a voyage of it's usually a discovery, like you're looking for something, you're finding something. Usually in the ordinary world, you started with lack and they wanted something, but they kind of knew what that thing was. In the first plot point, they may have a clearer idea of an agenda or a goal, or possibly not. They might just be invited on a journey and they decide to go because there's nothing else left for them. So they may not have a specific goal in mind. It's just they have nothing else to do. So that's the last chance for them to do anything, and they take that option because it's the only option being offered. And they may not find an actual goal until later. The goals might shift until later when they decide. And generally, like the goal will shift at the midpoint, and the goal will shift again at the second plot point. So we'll talk a little bit about those in future videos.